Hi, and welcome to Stories and Spoilers, the podcast. This is me, your host, Alyssa. It's just us. After work, I am in my cozy clothes, and I have my candle lit. It's like a chamomile lavender, and I'm very excited to go through my physical TBR. These are all the books that I've been lucky enough to be given from readers, friends, birthday gifts, Christmas gifts over 2024. And a lot of these books I was actually saving for 2025 because some of them are arcs, some of them were bigger books. Last year was crazy, so I'm very excited to kind of dive into them now. I broke them up into chunks. I have arcs, fantasy, contemporary romance, and a few other really cool ones that I just am excited to read. I also have the first book of the year that I'm reading, and I kind of saved it for 2025 because it was really hyped up in 2024. So I was just kind of wait until all the spoilers from other people kind of went down so I could read it and make up my own mind in my own time. So I have about 35 books in total. I will try to pace myself as I go through them. No spoilers in this episode. I'll just be telling you about each book, why I'm excited to read it, maybe a little bit about the story from the back. And yeah, and maybe you'll end up getting some books on your TBR from what I'm reading. But honestly, if anyone has ever gotten a lot of physical books and they're kind of taking a break from buying books for a while, I'm right next to you. I'm really going to be focusing on saving money, using apps like Libby through my library, Hoopla. I am going to still utilize Kindle Unlimited because it's something I pay for monthly. I get like 13 books from it, and I can support a lot of independent authors. But yeah, besides my last Barnes& Noble gift card from Christmas, after that, I am good for a little while. And honestly, I'm kind of excited to just kind of focus on what I have. I have so many books, and I'm just excited to jump right into it. So get a cozy drink, light a candle, and let's hop right into my physical TBR. So these are all the books that I'm like, yes, cannot wait to read. I own them physically. So first things first, let's hop into my arcs. Some of these arcs I got in giveaways, most of them I did. And I just can't wait to hop into them. So first things first is Flirting Lessons by Jasmine Guillory or Guillory. I'm sorry if I say her name wrong. This one comes out April 8th of 2025. I got this arc in a giveaway. It's actually signed by the author. It's sapphic. Apparently it's a little spicy. And I'm excited to read it because I love being able to read sapphic romance, especially if they're of color. I love a little bit of I can't fall for you, but I'm falling for you. So the back of this book says, Avery Jensen is almost 30 and tired of always being so well behaved. She wants to do what everyone else does in their 20s, date around, flirt with everyone she sees, wear something not from the business casual section of her closet. Except she doesn't know how to do any of that. Enter Taylor Cameron, Napa Valley's hottest catch. She offers Avery flirting lessons after her best friend bets she can't make it 2 months without sleeping with someone. Focusing on someone else's love life for once should keep her busy. Thanks to Taylor's lessons, Avery finally has the life she's always wanted. The only issue is now she wants Taylor. Their attraction becomes impossible to ignore. But when Taylor is forced to confront her feelings for Avery, she doesn't know what to do. And more important, if she's already ruined the best thing she's ever had. So when I do end up reading this book, I'll be reviewing it in a timely manner, and I won't do any spoilers because it is an arc, but I'm so grateful for the author for giving this to me. I can't wait to read this, and I have had this author's name pop up a few times in previous episodes, so I'm just beyond excited to read it, and thank you so much, Jasmine, for this book. My next arc that I'm really excited for, I actually saw an edit for on Instagram. It's First Time Caller by BK Borison. So I feel like I said that like the cheese. But this one actually has love interests who are on a podcast, which is really cool. One is a listener and one is a podcaster. This one comes out February 11th of 2025. And it says, Aiden Valentine has a secret. He's fallen out of love with love. And as the host of Baltimore's romance hotline, that's a problem. When a young woman calls to the station asking for dating advice for her mom, the interview goes well. Lucy Stone thought she was doing just fine. She has a good job, an incredible family, and a smart, slightly devious kid. But when all of Baltimore is suddenly scrutinizing her love life, or lack thereof, she begins to question if she's as happy as she thought. With the help of the radio station and maybe a little more romance wouldn't be such a bad thing for Lucy. When sparks start to fly between the scenes, Lucy must make the final call between radio-sponsored Happily Ever After or the man in the headphones next to her. Ooh, a hopeless romantic meets a demoralized radio host in this cozy Sleepless in Seattle inspired love story. Oh my gosh, I love Sleepless in Seattle. I remember this being, I saw a social media post about this. I was like, oh, I would love an art copy, and I won it in a giveaway. And now I'm just like, I'm beyond excited. I love Valentine's Day. I love February. For listeners out there, I actually ended up meeting my partner on Valentine's Day in person. Long story short, she gave me a book and candy. During socially distancing, we ended up wearing our masks. It was really cute. And Valentine's Day will always be super special to me. So this book, I cannot wait to read in my favorite lovey-dovey month. It's also my girlfriend's birthday month. So first time caller, I cannot wait to read. And for readers out there who think this sounds absolutely adorable, it comes out February 11th of this year. So keep an eye out. All right. So, next art copy that I'll be jumping into is Deep End by Ali Hazelwood. I also won this in a giveaway. This comes out February 4th of 2025. And it just looks so, so good. You may know Ali Hazelwood from The Love Hypothesis. They like write a lot of like STEM romances where the female main character or the love interest are in science. I know this book was supposed to be called Wet. Interesting. So I'm super excited to read this. I don't know much about it, but I am kind of excited to kind of dive in and go in blind because I knew with the love hypothesis, I knew kind of the an element of what was going to happen in the story. And I've learned with Ali Hazelwood, I actually prefer going in not knowing anything. And I also want to read Bride. I don't own a physical copy of Bride, but my library has an audiobook, so I might read it that way. But yeah, Deep End. Can't wait to read this one. All right, the next one is this one comes out in March of this year. Just Our Luck by Denise Williams. So this from the same author of Technically Yours. I know that this book has a donut element, which is super cute. I love when there's food in books. I love when it's kind of like quirky and there's baking, and I adore that. I think it makes it even cuter. So this book is about a lottery ticket plus donuts equals love in this steamy new fake dating from the beloved author Denise Williams. Sybil Sweet has always been lucky, but lately she can't get a break. After years of bouncing from job to job in search of something that feels right, from man to man in search for something that feels special, Sybil is worried that she's directionless, floundering daughter her family thinks she is. All she really wants now is a little financial stability and a carb comfort. Lucky for her, she's got just enough in the bank to buy a lottery ticket, and the late night donut store is open. Kieran Anderson put his dreams of becoming a doctor on hold to take over running his family's bakery. And after fighting a losing battle to save the place, he's exhausted, broke, and no longer closer to getting back to school. But when a whirlwind of a woman sweeps in late one night, flirting energy gives way to more until she runs out the next morning, leaving behind her winning lottery ticket. Lucky for Kiernan, his attempt to return the ticket looks like a grand romantic gesture and goes viral, sending sales through the roof. In an effort to keep the store afloat and to convince Sybil's family she can make good relationship choices, they agree to fake a relationship for 3 months. Even with hundreds of millions of dollars, finding each other might end up being the sweetest bit of luck for both of them. So this comes out March 25th of this year, 2025. I cannot wait to read this. I remember I won this, and there was a cute little like keychain donut, and it was really adorable. So I love books of fake dating. I love when there's a lot of like intimacy and communication and teamwork. So I cannot wait to read this. This looks so adorable. Okay. Those are the last of my arcs. So I had four. And now I'm going to hop into some of the upcoming books I can't wait to read. I don't actually have physical copies of these, but when I do end up buying books again, I'm probably going to get these. I wanted to mention them because a lot of the times I save books that I want to read and then I end up getting them later on. But if you're like me and you like to hear about books, I'm going to list these off. I'll include the dates they come out, and then you can look more into them. So the first one is A Serial Killer's Guide to Marriage by Asia McKay. That comes out January 14th, 2025. So that is about two serial killers or unalivers who they're married and they end up having a kid, and they decide that they're going to kind of put that part of their life away and not doing it anymore. But they realize how hard that is. So it kind of goes from there. The next one is Brewed with Love by Shelley Page. That is a sapphic book. It has queer representation. Do believe it falls into young adult, and that follows, I believe it's a witch and her ex-girlfriend, and they have to work together to get something done. The cover is like two girls kind of leaning towards each other over this big cauldron with heart, and it's pink and it's beautiful, and I just want to read it so bad. The next one is Out of the Woods by Hannah Bonham Young. This comes out January 28th, 2025. Hannah Bonham Young, as you may know, is one of my favorite authors. She wrote Out on a Limb. She wrote Next of Kin. She wrote Next to You. I just love all of her books. She does contemporary romance beautifully. She also is able to write dual POV, disability, and intimacy in a way I've never read before. And I just think that her writing is so beautiful and so creative. Out of the Woods is about a marriage in trouble. It is about two high school sweethearts who got married very young. They've been best friends forever, and their marriage is going through some tough stuff. They end up going camping to try to maneuver through it and find that light again. So it's got he falls first, lots of yearning, and can this work out? Can we make this happen? So I'm super excited to read that. The next one is The Love Lyric by Christina Forrest. I'm excited to announce that Christina Forrest is going to be on the podcast this year in March. She's one of my favorite authors. She wrote The Partner Plot. She also wrote The Neighbor Favor. So this is part of the Green Sister series. So book one is The Neighbor Favor. Book two is The Partner Plot. And book three is the one that I'm talking about now that I cannot wait to come out. I literally check her page every day, praying there's like extra arcs she's going to send out because I signed up for them. I guess I was too late. But The Love Lyric is about a single mom who unfortunately lost her husband a few years back, and she ends up meeting an Usher-like singer who is going to be part of her campaign. She has a business, and they have to work together, but he has really deep feelings for her, and she's going to try to find a way to open her heart up again. And it's just super exciting. And she's one of the sisters in the series, so you kind of get to learn about her other two sisters' love stories in The Neighbor Favor and The Partner Plot. But The Love Lyric is about her and about her journey to love again. So I'm very excited to read that. The next one I actually found today. It's called Coffee House in an Alternate Universe by C.B. Lee, and that comes out June 10th of this year. I know it has LGBTQ rep, and I know that it's a cozy romance. So I'm excited to read that. All I need to know is that it's queer and that it's cozy and there's like coffee shop vibes. That's all I need to know. It's like everything I could ever want in one place. So those are some of the books that I'm excited to read in 2025 when I've kind of gotten through all of these. But moving back towards my physical TBR, now we're going into contemporary romance. So some of these books I have right next to me, some of them are kind of all over my room. But the first one that I want to dive into is by Talia Hibbert. This is Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute. This is a young adult. It's actually pretty short. It's not that long. And in this one, it is Bradley Graham is pretty much perfect. He's a star football player, manages his OCD well enough, and comes out on top in all his classes, except the one he shares with Celine Bangora. They used to be best friends until Brad decided he was too cool for conspiracy theory obsessed Celine and literally abandoned her for his popular kids table. At least that's how Celine sees it. These days, Brad hates her guts, and the feeling is mutual. So when Celine signs up for the two-part survival course in the woods, she definitely does not expect to find Brad right beside her, forced to work together for the chance to win the grand prize. Celine and Brad must trudge through not just mud and dirt, but their messy past as their adventure brings them closer together. They start to remember all the good parts of their history, but has too much time passed or just enough to spark a whole new relationship? Listen, I was immediately pulled in because Talia Hibbert wrote one of my favorite books, which is Get a Life, Chloe Brown. And I love the way she always has curvy women of color in her books. She writes male love interest really well too. I feel like they always have a lot of compassion and complexity, and I just can't wait to see where the story goes. And I just want to read more of her books. The next book that I really want to mention is Do Your Worst. So this book I actually won in another giveaway. I got really lucky. So this one kind of pulled me in when I first heard about it because of the tropes. I know this is Grumpy Sunshine. I know there is a paranormal element, which is kind of interesting. I heard that this got mixed reviews, but personally for me, I always kind of make up my own mind about books and where I want them to go, and kind of how I want to feel about them. So I'm going in with an open mind. But Do Your Worst is about Riley Rhodes. Finally has the chance to turn her family's knack for the supernatural into a legitimate business when she's hired to break the curse of an infamous Scottish castle. Used to working alone in her alienating occupation, she's pleasantly surprised to meet a handsome stranger upon arrival, until he tries to get her fired. Fresh off a professional scandal, Clark Edware can't allow a self-proclaimed curse breaker to threaten his last chance of redemption. After he fails to get Riley kicked off his survey site, he vows to avoid her. Unfortunately for him, she vows to get even. Riley expects the curse to do her dirty work by driving Clark away, but instead they keep finding themselves in close proximity. Too close. Turns out the only thing that they do better than fight is fool around. And if they're not careful, by the end of this, more than the curse will end up in ruins. Listen, I am 100% down for some paranormal elements, some enemies to lovers, some grumpy sunshine. Give it all to me. I cannot wait to read this. So yeah, I cannot wait to read that. The next book that I really want to read is by Ashley Preston or Poston. This is The Dead Romantics. I read The 7 Year Slip during a really bad breakup at one point in my life, and it was so healing for me and so grounding. So that book I will always remember being just a very special book for me. So now that I'm at a different point in my life, I'm excited to read her again. And with the Dead Romantics, some tropes I kind of want to mention is that I know that the main character I think is a writer, and her love interest, something bad happens to him and he ends up kind of being in that middle between life and death to my knowledge. And he was an editor and he ends up at her front step, and that's kind of where I want to leave it. That's what I know about this book so far. I may be wrong, but from what I remember, those are some of the little bullet points that I received from this book. I got this book used, and I can't wait to dive in because I love her writing and I love her metaphors. I remember the lemon cake from 7 Year Slip, that whole metaphor and the way she writes about feelings and emotions and grief. I always really respected that, so I can't wait to read this one. All right, the next book that I really want to read, I bought it because the cover was so beautiful, also because I love kind of like sliding glass door situation where like your life could go in one of two directions. So the book that I got was The Magic of Lemon Drop Pie. A friend of mine sent this book to me, and I just like I was constantly talking about it. I was like, "Oh, this cover is so beautiful." So this book is about Lolly Blanchard's life. Only seems to give her lemons. 10 years ago, after her mother's tragic death, she broke up with her first love and abandoned her dream of opening up a restaurant in order to keep her family's struggling Seattle diner afloat and care for her younger sister and grieving father. Now, a decade later, she dutifully whips up the diner's famous lemon meringue pies each morning, while still pining for all that she's lost. As Lolly's 33rd birthday approaches, her quirky great aunt gives her a mysterious gift. Three lemon drops, each of which allows her to live a single day in the life she might have been hers. What if her mom had not passed away? What if she had opened her own restaurant in England? What if she had not broken up with the only man she has ever loved? Surprisingly and empowering, each experience helps Lolly let go of her regrets and realize the key to transforming her life is not redoing her past, but in having the courage to embrace her present. I cannot wait to read this. Who doesn't have regrets? Who doesn't have things they look back on and they're like, man, I wish I did that differently. So I can't wait to talk about this book and dive into that. So I can't wait to read this. I'll definitely be doing a book talk about it. And then another book that I want to read kind of ties into a book I'm reading now. I'm gonna save this for the summertime. This is 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. Um, I cannot wait to read this. There's something about a second chance romance recently that's been really hitting. So this book is about A.V. Mercy is a single mom, a best-selling erotica writer who is feeling pressed from all sides. Shane Hall is a reclusive, award-winning novelist who, to everyone's surprise, shows up in New York. When Shane and Eva meet unexpectedly at a black literary event, sparks fly. But what no one knows is that 15 years earlier, teen Eva and Shane spent one crazy torrid week madly in love and have been secretly writing to each other in their books ever since. Over the next 7 days, amidst a steamy Brooklyn summer, Ava and Shane reconnect, but Ava's wary of the man who broke her heart. Before Shane disappears again, she needs a few questions answered. I'm telling you, I love a good second chance romance. Like, listen to me. I love it. I need it desperately. Okay. So I'm very excited to read this. Um, I do kind of want to mention a book. I'm currently reading this on my TBR. I had to grab it because it came in the mail. At first, I was listening to it as an audiobook, and now I have a physical copy because I already know it's gonna be one of my favorite books of the year. It's also by Tia Williams. And that is going to be a love song for Ricky Wilde. Yes, I finally gave in. I knew this book was gonna have me in a chokehold. And you know what? I feel really bad for holding back for so long because it's so good. Like, I cannot get over how amazing this is. Go in blind. I'm gonna be doing a non-spoiler book talk, and I will have you guys vote in the polls when I do release that. Because if you want me to do a full spoiler talk, I can. And maybe I can have a friend come on the podcast who's also read this book and really, really loved it because this book deserves to be talked about. I don't want to go too deep into it, but long story short, a girl named Ricky ends up opening up a flower shop and trying to be independent and do her own thing. And she meets a really mysterious and good-looking man in a garden, and one thing leads to another, and they can't be together. But we, as the reader, aren't quite sure why. And I'll leave it at that. The writing is very fairy tale-esque. It's giving I want you, but I can't have you. It's giving meant to be destiny. And it's also set in Harlem, which I adore. So yeah, I love it. And also this female main character, Ricky, I really relate to. She has social anxiety and the way that she is able to kind of blurt out random comments and the way that she just wants to have a friend and be understood. I really relate to. So I'm adoring this book right now. Also, I own a physical copy now, but I love the audiobook. I might just get it as an audiobook too. Maybe around my birthday because the voices of the voice actors are brilliant. So highly recommend it as an audiobook, but if you're a girl like me who wants both, the physical copy is also gorgeous. So next, I'm going to mention a few books that I own, but I don't have the books on me at this very moment. So one is Down South Bayou by Erica Alexander. That is somewhere in my room. That is a sapphic romance that is giving love and basketball vibes. It's friends to lovers. But it's also like friends to benefits vibes, and it's sapphic and it has pan representation, and I'm loving it. I'm hoping to have Eric Alexander on the podcast very soon. Another book that I have that I really cannot wait to talk about is Teacher of the Year by M.A. Wardwell, which is a teacher. So he's a teacher for like kindergartners, and he ends up falling in love with one of the parents of one of his little students. And I can't wait to read it. I got a special edition at Steamy Lit because I really, really wanted to read this book, and I want to read more male love and like romance and queer representation. So I'm excited to read that as well. Another book that I want to read, that I'm sure you guys know because it was episode one, is Casey McQuiston's The Pairing. That's another male romance. It's set between two exes who are on I guess a road trip through Europe. They originally got the tickets when they were dating, but then they end up breaking up. And then a year later, the tickets are going to expire, and they both end up going on the trip, not realizing that the exes are both on the same bus. So they end up making a pact about like who can sleep with as many people, but they don't realize that they still have feelings for each other. It's giving messy, it's giving cute. So I cannot wait to read that. Casey McQuiston actually wrote one of my favorite books, One Last Stop. So that's another reason I really look forward to anything she writes because I know her writing style and I just love it so much. So a series that I really want to read is Heartless, Powerless, and Reckless by Elsie Silver. So all of those books are giving like cowboy romance vibes, hockey, like a lot of them have different elements, but all the guys in the series are connected through like the family or through the small town. I read I read Powerless, I think a little bit of it, but I ended up stopping it at one point, I think because of school. So I actually own that series, but it's kind of up there right now. But yes, I own that series. I really want to read them, and if possible, I want to do a review of each one of the books in the summertime and back to back, like a really chunky episode. Another book that I want to mention is Archer's Voice. That is the only book on this entire list that's a reread for me. I really want to reread it because I actually have the special edition with all of Mia Sheridan's like annotations inside. I read it 2 years ago. I read it as an audiobook and I absolutely loved it. But now that I have a physical copy, especially with all of her notes, I really do want to take my time reading that and almost like savor it again. Because I raced through it the first time because I wanted to know what happened. But now I'm like, I know what happens and I just want to appreciate it and really take my time. So I am that girl. I will reread a book if I find it super, super good. All right, moving on, we're gonna dive into some fantasy books that I want to read, that I own. And I'm that person where like if a book is giving, if the cover is giving, if the characters are giving, if I've heard good things, and if I get a chance to talk to the author, your girl's gonna read it. So one book that I really want to read, it's actually a graphic novel. It's the only graphic novel I currently own that I haven't read. I am a graphic novel girly. Is The Deep Dark by Molly Knox Ostergog. Ostertag. So I actually read The Girl from the Sea this summer and I loved it. This one is a little bit chunkier, she's a chunky girl. But in this story, it says everyone has teeth. Sorry, everyone has a secret. Everyone does have teeth. Everyone has a secret. And Mags has teeth. Magdalena Herrera is about to graduate from high school, but she already feels like an adult with a serious responsibility, caring for her ailing grandmother, working a part-time job, clandestine makeout sessions with the girl who has a boyfriend. And then there's her secret, which pulls her into the basement each night, drains her of her energy, and leaves her bleeding. A secret that could hurt and even kill if it ever got out, like it did once before. So when Mags keeps her head down, isolated in her small desert community, that is until her childhood friend Nessa comes back to town, bringing vivid memories of past, intoxicating glimpses of the future, and a secret of her own. Mags won't get attached, of course. She's always been strong enough to survive without anyone's help. But when the darkness starts to close in on them both, Mags will have to drag her secret into the daylight and choose between risking everything or having nothing to lose. I cannot wait to read this. I think that Molly Knox Oster's stories and I apologize, their illustrations are just so beautiful, and I cannot wait to dive into this graphic novel. Also, when life gets really crazy, I find that graphic novels are very grounding, so I can't wait to read this. Another book that I can't wait to read that I know has it's almost like a fairy tale retelling. So I am aware it kind of gives off like Snow White vibes. Is Sleep Like Death. So this cover, which is absolutely gorgeous, I got this in a giveaway. So I'm very grateful to the publishing house who gave this to me. But I want to read more Black authors, and I also want to read more fairy tale retellings. So I'm very grateful to have this. Who knows? Maybe I'll save it for like October. So this book is about Eve is ready to be the queen's sword, to be her vengeance. Princess Eve was raised with one purpose, to destroy the night. Far too many generations of the Queen's Bridge have been terrorized by this evil sorcerer's trickery. Eve's own unique magic, the ability to conjure weapons from nature, makes her a worthy adversary. But she approaches her 17th birthday. Eve is ready to battle, but her mother, Queen Regina, has been acting bizarrely, talking to a strange mirror alone every night. Then a young man claiming to be the knight's messenger appears and shares a shocking truth about Eve's past. Unsure of who to trust, Eve must find the courage to do what she's always done, fight. But will it be enough to save her family and her queendom? I cannot wait to read this. This is from the same author who wrote Cinderella is Dead, which had sapphic representation and was a young adult book, which I love. So I can't wait to read this. And I'm just beyond excited. Like, who doesn't love a good fairy tale retelling? All right. So, another book that I do want to mention that I own that I want to read. I have had people request I do a review of this, so I'm gonna do it. It's gonna be up there on my TBR, guys. I hear you. That is Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas. I'm so late because I think this actually has a second book coming out. So I need to get on top of this. This is going to be on my TBR for either January or February. I will read it. But I want to read the back because I just keep kicking myself in the butt. Like, I need to read this. So the spirit's face was screwed up, tight in a grimace. His fingers knotted into the material of his shirt. He wore a hooded black leather jacket over a white tee, faded jeans, and a pair of Converse. That's not Miguel, Maurizia tried to whisper, but she didn't have a good inside voice. Yadriel groaned and dragged a hand over his face on the bright side. He actually had summoned a real spirit, and on the not so bright side, he had summoned the wrong one. I can't wait to read this. Once again, queer representation, we need to see it. And I also really, really love when I get to learn about different cultures and there's a gothic element, there's paranormal elements, and that's everything I want, and I really want to read it. One of my listeners, Lily, and one of my bookish friends on Instagram actually recommended I read this book. I hear you, Lily. I definitely will read it. Okay. So another book that I wanted to mention I want to read is actually from an author I got to meet on social media, and she seems really cool. That is The Gifted Society by Tatiana White. I can't wait to read this book. It has a black female main character, which I love. It has a little bit of paranormal magic element, friendship. So I can't wait to read this. I will read the back. Tatiana White, you are so cool. I can't wait to read your book, and I hope I can have you on the podcast very soon. So in the back of this book, it says 16-year-old Alexia has a secret. She's a Varian, burdened with the gift of harnessing stars and shooting them through her skin. After watching her best friend, Sari, get falsely accused of murder upon changing into a Varian, Alexa wants no one to know. She keeps her secret tight and close until an accident with the strange abilities critically injures her father, threatening to reveal her identity. Alexia flees and goes on the run to avoid death row. While in transit, she meets Greta, a quirky antique shop owner who promises her safety with other variants in a realm called the Grove. Alexia is skeptical, but once she learns Sari has been kidnapped from prison and taken to the Grove to be sacrificed by Reveners, a secret society of variant hitmen, she becomes intent on finding and saving her from another dire fate. Greta introduces Alexia to the Grove, her new home at the Malvox Prep Academy and Sanctuary, a premier school for variant teens to study and hone their knowledge and skills. There, Alexia rooms with a pyrokinetic hothead who can't stop kissing her boyfriend and takes tours with her assigned campus mentor, a wisecracking, morphing teleporter named Kyle. With the help of her newfound friendships, Alexia delves deeper into the Grove's hidden history for clues on the present. All she wants is to find Sari and save her, but the closer she gets to the Reveners, the more danger she and her friends are in. Alexia must decide if friendship is worth the wrath of war, suffering, and even worse, betrayal. I cannot wait to read this book. I'm so excited. And honestly, just knowing how sweet the author is and how much love went into writing this book, it's something I know I'm gonna really savor. And I might just read it while I'm on a break from school so I can just sit down one day and dive in and finish it all in one day. So yeah. Okay. The next book that I'm going to be reading, I actually recommended to my grandma because she also loves retellings, and that is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. One of my friends, Lauren, actually recommended this to me. She said that she cried and it made her feel all the things. I am not going to describe this book because it has a reputation all of its own, but this is a kind of Achilles retelling. It I have been informed has queer representation. I want to keep this very vague because I'm going to do a full talk about it. So I'm very excited to be reading that. All right. So the next book that I'm going to read, is it on here? All right. I'm just gonna pull off book two, because I own book one. I own book two. So book one is Legendborn. This is a series I really want to read. This is the Legendborn cycle. Book one and book two is out, but book three comes out March of this year. So I need to get on top of this. So I own book one, Black fantasy. I know there's grief involved. I know there's power involved. Yes. I also own Blood Marked. So I'm going to read a little bit about Legendborn. And then I'm going to kind of wrap it up with a few duologies I want to read. So, with Legendborn, after her mother dies in an accident, 16-year-old Bree Matthews wants nothing to do with her family members or a childhood home. A residential program for bright scholars at UNC Chapel Hill seems like the perfect escape, until Bree witnesses a magical attack. Her very first night on campus, a flying demon feeds on human energies, a secret society of so-called legend-born students that hunt creatures down, and a mysterious teen mage who calls himself Merlin, who attempts and fails to wipe Bree's memory of everything she saw. The mage's failure reveals Bree's own unique magic and a buried memory with a hidden connection. The night her mom died, another Merlin was at the hospital. Now that Bree knows that there's much more to her mother's death than what the police report, she'll do whatever it takes to find the truth, even if that means infiltrating the Legendborn as one of their initiates. She recruits Nick, a self-exiled Legendborn with his own grudge against the group. Their reluctant partnership pulls them deeper into society's secrets and closer together. But when the Legendborn reveal themselves as the descendants of King Arthur's knights and explain that the magical war is coming, Bree has to decide how far she's willing to go for the truth, whether she should use her magic to take the society down or join the fight. So I own book one. I also own book two. I'm gonna pull that off my shelf. Um, I have blood marked as well. I have the sprayed edges version, which I got it on sale at Barnes& and Noble, so I'm very excited to read it. So I own both books. I just need to read them. So as you may see, there's a lot of series I try to get when they're on sale. I'm very excited to read those, and I can't wait for Oathbound to come out this year in March. Okay, so I actually got the first book in this duology. I don't own book two, but the first book is Sing Me to Sleep by Gabby Burton, another amazing Black author, fantasy, sirens. Book one, this is book one, is Sing Me to Sleep. Book two is Draw Me with Dreams. This cover is absolutely stunning, and I want to describe the back a little bit because it pulled me in immediately. I also own this as an audiobook, so I can listen to it and kind of read it in that way when I'm working out or I'm on lunch break at work. Killer, liar, soldier, spy. I'm so sorry if I say her name wrong, guys. I'm sorry. Cerise is a killer. Her ability to sing to men to an early death makes her the top assassin in the kingdom. Cerise is a liar. If the royal family ever finds out she's a siren, she'll be executed immediately. Cerise is a soldier. As a top student at the most prestigious training academy in Korea, Cerise has spent years honing herself into the perfect killing machine. Cerise is a spy. When her little sister is blackmailed, Cerise takes a dangerous job to protect her, her personal bodyguard to the crown prince. One misstep and Cerise will lose her life. But the biggest threat of all is her heart. Prince Hayes would call her death in an instant if he knew the truth. But the closer Cerise gets to Hayes, the harder it gets to resist him. Oh, I can't wait to read this book. I got this in a giveaway. Also, I got this really cool like nameplate situation, and it says, "We all have instincts, mine is to kill." Right? Oh, I'm so grateful for Bloomsbury Publishing House for giving me this book as in the giveaway. This is not an ad. I just won it, and I'm so, so grateful. Um, okay, so those are some of my fantasy books I really want to read. Another book I want to mention that is fantasy and it's more cozy is Legends and Lattes. I got this in a giveaway from another podcast. Thank y'all. This one I know has some elements of Dungeons and Dragons, cozy elements, a little bit of a monster romance, a little bit, but not as much spice. So I can't wait to read that. So that's some of the fantasy that I really want to read. And it is part of a series, but I only own book one of Legends of Lattes. So yeah. The last books I want to mention are some kind of horror and creepy books that I think are really, really cool. I do love a good horror every once in a while. I do love a little bit of gore. Before we hop into horror and creepy, there is one book I want to mention that is a vampire book that I can't wait to read, and that is A Cruel Thirst. That actually recently came out. I'm reading this with another podcast, Busy Reading Romantasy. So this one is about a vampire hunter and a vampire working together. I'll leave it at that for now. I also was told this is giving a little bit of like Jasper vibes from Twilight. So we'll see where that goes. But I can't wait to read this. I'll give you a little teaser. Carolina was a wildfire. One could only sit back and watch her burn, and every part of Lalo's undead heart burned for her. Hmm. He falls first. Yep, you don't have to tell me anything more, okay? So, okay, here are some of my horror, creepy books, have dark elements, paranormal elements, but they are quite dark. So the first one is Immortal Dark, by Tigist Gurma. I'm sorry if I say your name wrong. This book is a vampire book. I'll read a little bit of the back. Am I scaring you? His voice grumbled like mountain rocks. Do you want to leave? The muscles of his shoulders tensed as if he was preparing for another blow. He was mistaking her accelerated heart for fear. She lifted her lashes at him and rested her hands over his. Mhm. I actually got this book from Jay's House. It's an online bookshop and bakery. It's black owned, it's women owned. I got it in their vampire book box. I got tea, I got marshmallows. I talk about them so much. They're amazing. I got two hardcovers for a really great price. So I'm excited to read this one. Black vampires, enemies to lovers. Can't wait to read it. My girlfriend read this first. So I can't wait to read this and talk to her about it and talk to you guys about it. All right, next one, since we're on a roll with vampires, is This Ravenous Fate by Haley Dennings. I can't wait to read this one as well. I got this one and Immortal Dark in the same box from Jay's House. I will tag that in the show notes if they still have it, or I'll just tag the website. They have a lot of cool boxes that come out. So this one, I'll read on the back. You sound afraid, Saint. Is it because of what happened 5 years ago? That was not personal. It was a pure Reaper instinct. That is impossible to control when you are first turned. But your blood has always been my favorite after all these years. So I do believe that this one is sapphic rep, friends to lovers, enemies. I also think that there is some elements of the 1920s and there are black leading characters. So I can't wait to read this one too. You're gonna see that there's a bit of a pattern in all of these books because I love a good black lead. I like to see myself in books. So yeah. Next one, it's giving a river. It's giving black ballerina. It's giving dark swan situation. I fed her to the beast, and the beast is me by Jameson Shea. I cannot wait to read this book. I know book two recently came out, so that makes me very happy. All right, I'm gonna read the back. Laura has always danced in the cutthroat world of ballet at a disadvantage. Tired of being overlooked, she ventures deep into Paris catacombs, where she finds pulsing blood river that offers her everything she dreamed of and works towards power and awe. With it, she takes her place above her peers, but soon she cannot distinguish her own lust for more with the primordial presence in her veins. Laura quickly learns she's not the only monster around. Her vicious desire puts a target on her back. As she descends into godhood and the mystifying underworld below, she is faced with the ultimate choice: continue to break herself for a world that doesn't love her back, or succumb to the darkness she wants that wants her exactly as she is, monstrous heart and all. That is, if the god killer doesn't catch her first. Soon I'd be a name no one would forget, a rage fire they couldn't escape. I cannot wait to read this book. Give me female rage. Give me power. Give me she went into the darkness. This is exactly what I want in books. I cannot wait to read this. Also, another black author, Dead Girls Walking. We're on a roll, baby. So this one is a a girl whose father was a serial unaliver, ends up in jail. Her mom was missing. She goes to the same campsite where this all happened, and now the campsite has been made into a queer horror summer camp. And something is still unaliving people, and her dad's in jail, and her mom was never found, and they don't know what's going on. And she low key went there and didn't tell anyone who she was, and now she's playing it off like she's like a summer camp counselor, and there may be a paranormal spirit that's straight up just haunting people and unaliving people. This is Dead Girls Walking. Oop. So this book was supposed to come out in March of 2024. I ended up buying the book online. Turns out this is an ARC. So I don't know who sold it online as an ARC, but yeah, I got this online. So single tier. But I can't wait to read this. This is such a cool book because I love when there's paranormal elements. I love when there's a thriller element. And this is by Sammy Ellis. All right, we're on our last two. So I'm gonna go with Nightfall by Suzanne Young. This I was told is like a female Lost Boys kind of vampire book. And then my last book on my TBR is The Blonde Dies First by Joelle Wellington. So this is from the same author who wrote Their Vicious Games. And what I want to read this is because I know that it's based off of the vibes of Scream. And it is in a form where it's a thriller, it's a horror, and it's very fast paced. So those are all my books on my physical TBR. I can't wait to read them and review them with y'all and just kind of dive into everything with you. Thank you for listening and thank you for kind of spending this time with me. Tell me some books that you're looking forward to reading this year, and are there any books I mentioned that you want me to read first? Have a great day.